Eli Turner had always believed that a man's hands could tell his story. His were stained with oil, scarred from years of scraping against metal frames, and calloused from holding onto wrenches instead of comfort. He wasn't rich, not even close, but he held onto a quiet dignity, the kind that comes from doing good even when no one's watching. He worked at Henderson Auto Repairs, a popular shop on the outskirts of town, where the smell of gasoline lingered like a permanent ghost. The place was busy, profitable, and efficient, everything a business should be. Except for one thing, it had no soul. The soul had been drained out long ago by its owner, Craig Henderson. Craig was the type of man who polished his Rolex more often than his conscience. He treated his employees like replaceable bolts and his customers like walking wallets. Eli tolerated him because he needed the paycheck. His rent was overdue, his pantry was empty more often than full, and his phone buzzed daily with dead reminders. Still, Eli never let hardship turn him bitter. If anything, it made him softer toward others. It was late afternoon when she arrived, a small, frail woman in a faded blue sedan that rattled like a tin can in a storm. Her hands gripped the steering wheel with effort, and her eyes, framed by deep wrinkles, showed exhaustion rather than fear. Eli was wiping grease off his gloves when he saw her parked crookedly near the entrance. She stepped out slowly, wincing as if even standing caused discomfort. She approached Craig first, who was checking invoices at the front desk. "Excuse me," she said gently, voice barely above a whisper. "My car, it keeps stopping while I drive. I'm supposed to get to my doctor's appointment, but I don't know if I'll make it." Craig didn't even look up. "Diagnostic fee is $95. Repairs start at $300. Pay up front, or we don't touch it." The woman's lips trembled. I don't have that much with me right now. But I can. "No money, no service," Craig snapped, waving her off like a stray cat. Eli's chest tightened with anger. Before the woman could retreat to her car in embarrassment, he stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said kindly, "pop the hood for me. I'll take a look." Craig shot him a warning glare. "Eli, don't." Eli ignored him. He guided the woman to a chair inside the waiting area and poured her a cup of water from the cooler. Then he went to work. The issue was simple, a loose connector on the fuel line. It took him less than 20 minutes to secure it properly. When he turned the ignition, the old engine purred with gratitude. The woman's eyes sparkled when he handed back her keys. She pulled out a few wrinkled dollar bills from her purse. "Please, take it, it's all I have." Eli shook his head. "Just promise me you'll get to that appointment." But before she could thank him, a voice thundered behind them. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Craig stood there, red-faced, furious. And that's when Eli's world shifted. The silence that followed Craig's outburst felt heavier than any engine Eli had ever lifted. Every mechanic in the shop froze, wrenches midair, sockets clutched in place. The old lady's grateful smile faded as she looked nervously between the two men. Craig stomped forward, jabbing a finger in Eli's face. "Did you just service that car without authorization? Without charging her?" Eli straightened but stayed calm. "She needed help. It was a small fix." "A small fix," Craig barked, loud enough for customers in the lobby to hear. "This is not a charity, Eli. This is a business." The woman stood up, clutching her purse. "Please, sir, don't be angry. I'll pay when I can." Craig rounded on her. "Lady, I don't care if you're the Queen of England. If you don't pay, you don't get service. That's how the real world works." That did it. Eli stepped in front of her protectively. "That's enough, Craig." Craig blinked in disbelief. "Excuse me, you heard me," Eli said firmly. "You don't talk to her like that." Craig's face twisted into something between shock and rage. "You think you can tell me how to run my shop?" "I think someone should," Eli replied. The old lady tugged on Eli's sleeve weakly. "Please, I don't want to cause trouble. I'll just leave." "You're not going anywhere," Eli said softly, offering her a reassuring glance. Craig crossed his arms. "You're done here. Pack your tools and get out." Eli stared at him for a moment, stunned. "You're firing me for helping someone," Craig smirked. "I'm firing you for stealing company resources. Now get out before I call security." A few of the mechanics shifted uncomfortably. One of them, Jamal, muttered, "Come on, Craig, that's harsh." Craig snapped, "Anyone else got a problem? I'll clear this whole place out." No one spoke. Eli clenched his jaw, fighting the sting in his eyes. He turned to the old woman. "It's okay. You should go. Your car's safe now." Her voice cracked with emotion. I'm so sorry, dear. He mustered a small smile. Don't be, I'd do it again. She hesitated as if wanting to say more, then left quietly. The door chimed behind her, and Eli felt something in him ache at the sound. He walked to his workstation, grabbed his old duffel bag, and began packing. His tools clinked softly, the only sound in the otherwise silent shop. The other mechanics watched with guilt in their eyes, but none dared intervene. Craig stood with smug satisfaction, folding his arms like a king on his throne. This is what happens when you break rules, he announced loudly, as if making an example. Eli slung the bag over his shoulder and walked toward the exit. Just as he reached the door, he paused and looked back. Rules without humanity aren't worth following, he said simply. Then he walked out, jobless, but not defeated. Craig scoffed, convinced the story was over. But fate was only setting the stage. 3 days passed, each one heavier than the last. Eli spent his mornings scanning job listings and his afternoons tinkering with his old pickup truck just to keep his mind busy. His landlord had already slipped a notice under his door, and his pantry held little more than instant noodles. Yet despite the growing worries, he still couldn't bring himself to regret what he'd done. On the 4th morning, Eli was sipping coffee so weak it tasted like brown water when his phone buzzed. No caller ID, he ignored it. It buzzed again, and again. He sighed and answered. Is this Mr. Eli Turner? A formal voice asked. Yeah, this is James Lowell, legal representative for Mrs. Evelyn Hartwell. She requests your presence at Henderson Auto Repairs immediately. Eli blinked. Wait, who? But the line had already disconnected. Confused and slightly alarmed, Eli grabbed his jacket and headed out. When he turned onto the street near the shop, he froze. The parking lot was filled with black luxury cars, sleek, polished, expensive. Men in tailored suits stood like statues at the entrance. The shop employees huddled inside, wide-eyed like they were witnessing a mob raid. Eli hesitated, wondering if he should even approach. But then the door opened, and she stepped out. It was the old lady. Except she didn't look old and frail anymore. She wore a deep emerald coat, her silver hair neatly styled, her cane carved from polished ivory. Standing beside her were 2 lawyers and a man with a clipboard. Craig was already there, trying, and failing, to look composed. He had greeted her with a wide smile earlier, thinking she was a wealthy new customer. His smile had dropped the moment he saw paperwork in her hand. Eli approached cautiously. The woman, Evelyn Hartwell, turned, and her face lit up. There you are, she said warmly. I was hoping you'd come. Craig spun around. What is he doing here? Evelyn didn't even look at him. She raised her hand, silencing him effortlessly. Mr. Henderson, as of this moment, you are relieved of your position. Effective immediately. Craig's jaw dropped. You can't fire me. This is my shop. Evelyn handed him a document. Actually, it's mine. I've owned this property for the last 15 years. You've merely been leasing it. And your lease just expired. The mechanics inside gasped. Craig's face went pale. Evelyn turned to Eli. Young man, I've been searching for someone like you for a long time. Someone who fixes more than cars, someone who fixes people's faith in humanity. Eli stood speechless. She extended her hand. I would like you to manage this place. Run it as you see fit. And if you agree, I will fund any repairs done for those in need. The shop fell silent. Then Jamal called out from inside, say yes, man. Eli laughed in disbelief, tears prickling his eyes. He shook her hand. I won't let you down. Evelyn smiled. I know. As Craig was escorted off the premises, Eli stood where he had once been fired, this time not as a victim but as a leader. Kindness had cost him his job, but it had bought him his future.